What's up, cons? Um, so I'm like mostly better from being sick, like um now just my skin's getting all like fucky. Put the lotion or else I get the turn into a full blown reptilian. Um anyway, I just I'm a little high right now. Hadn't been high for like what is it? Like 2 or 3 months. And because I've been trying to like finish my book, finish editing, do all the finishing touches, which like for a 300 page, I mean it's like 300 pages, but I guess text wise you could say it's like 150 pages or something, because like a lot of because of the photos, other huge a lot of huge photos. Um, but still like editing through that, like even though most of it is quotes, I think most of it is quotes, yeah, by far. And like but there's like a significant amount of my commentary as well. And there's and even the quotes themselves are like some I typed by hand, either from physical books I have or transcribing it. Well, no, like if I seen it, like, well, yeah, I guess maybe if I saw it, there's sometimes where I might see it in a PDF form or in some kind of form, like a GIF or whatever, GIF, that like JPEG or something where you can't like get the text. Whereas otherwise, if I could get the text, I would copy paste it. But then those are even worse because a lot of those were like, especially that are a lot of old books, from the 1800s or whatever, but they were scanned into websites like either like Google Books or Amazon or something like that. Um, or like, I don't know, I guess the ones I can actually copy it from like that is like, I don't know, like archive.org or dot whatever. And yeah, things like that. Um, but a lot of times they scan them in and it's very imperfect. So you have a lot of typos and like characters that were scanned wrong, and so that's kind of worse in a way, because like when you're just typing it yourself, when you're just transcribing, like you kind of know like the realm of mistakes you might make, whereas it's like a whole different set of mistakes that like a scanner can make. And then sometimes you can have false like confidence because you think like, oh, I'm just, it's all written and I don't have to edit it too much. But no, you sometimes have to edit it more. Um, so so yeah, editing through all that and getting all the like footnotes in order. Because like originally I had just huge clunky ass footnotes that were like um regular sized text and put within like the kind of, I put it between the less than and more than signs, instead of square brackets, just because it's something that nobody does. It's not really done. So I knew that I would recognize that. I don't know. For some reason, I just use that because I know that I'll recognize what I'm doing, be able to distinguish it from other things like in my quotes and stuff that are like with other type of brackets and other footnotes. I don't know. I'm not sure why, but yeah, I think that's partly why I started doing that. And so it's useful for me that way while I'm working on it, but and also to have it full size. But also I would put in like I just listed all the initially I listed all my sources like at the bottom of the document, and or at the end. And like they so then I, within the text, I would just between a less than and more than sign, I would put like whatever the number is of that source that was listed at the bottom. I'd have them all, numbered. And then I'd put P and then whatever's the page number. And I put that for each page that I would like, cite from. And then sometimes like F if it was for page something, and then figure A, figure. Sometimes there would be like illustrations that would be called like figure or plate or something like that. Um, so I'd put different abbreviations for that stuff. Sometimes I even write the whole thing, I think. Yeah, maybe I was just writing the whole thing because I just wanted to be sure, like be very clear, err on the side of transparency. And so, especially because I know, like I'm writing obviously about like sadly something that's sadly controversial. Like it shouldn't be controversial, but about the underworld and about you know, pre-Columbian contact and stuff like that. But like you know, so just to make sure everybody can easily access like the source of everything that I'm putting in there. But I really, but and also it's just easier for me while I'm working on it, then I can like quickly like, ascertain each one. Where as opposed to a regular type of citation note, in a lot of, I would say like the more standard type is just like a number, and then you have to go to some place to figure out what that number means. And like so I basically, so it's a lot harder to use in that sense, but it's a lot neater the standard way. So I basically converted it to that. So that took like a buttload of time, like just going through and making sure I get all the numbers right. And then once you got them in there, it's so difficult because then you don't want to fuck with anything, because otherwise you have to go through and change all. If one number changes, all the other numbers have to change because it's all in order. So, anyways, pain in the ass. Um, but it's at least easier. It's better, I guess, with online. You can have like a link where you can click that and take you directly to it. So that's great. That works the best. Like something like what Wikipedia has. They use square brackets, I guess, and square brackets with numbers. But anyway, I think maybe the square brackets are um, because it's a link. Because I know that's standard with links, and that's what I used when I included links at the bottom in my book, even though as a printed thing, it's not going to be a link you can click, but it's going to show the URL. Um, so anyway, yeah, that took a while. So I've been staying like sober through that, and I haven't watched like Netflix. Like I was watching Netflix a lot, like because I was, kind of dealing with the apocalypse and hiding out and getting high and watching Netflix. And and like my landlords have Netflix, so I just, because I rent a room in their house, and I don't have Netflix because I don't have money, and also like um because uh my internet kind of sucks. So they have it like they have a whole like big TV thingy that's like somehow directly, like whatever. I'm sure a lot of y'all know what it is, but some kind of system where it's like has Netflix, Hulu, and all this stuff, and it's somehow directly like looks like a console or something. Anyway, like so yeah, I was watching certain shows. Like I watched like all of a bunch of shows. What was the last show I was watching? Like I don't know. I watched some interesting stuff. There's like Maya and the Three is pretty dope. It's on there on Netflix. That's like about infernology. I mean, the thing is, like, if you watch any kind of movies or even read like novels and stuff, or like everything's about infernology, everything's about the underworld, and which is America or Afro Eurasia, depending which one you're standing on. I mean, in some sense, I often say that America is the underworld, not because it is, uh, I mean, only because the word underworld is an English word. So therefore, I associate it with Europe. And vis a vis Europe, America is the underworld. Um, but, for like the Aztecs, like the underworld was Afro Eurasia. They called it Mictlan. And, the Maya called it Xibalba. And I mean, it's just fucked up that almost all the human culture is about this, and all like regular people, at least, I think, are just like kept from knowing this, like kept from knowing the whole truth of our like species. Like, I mean, I think there has to be like the elites. I mean, maybe the elites know, and that's like I don't know. Like, it seems like could be they all know and they're laughing at us. But but that's fucked up, like that's beyond I mean, because like the Freemasons and stuff, like that's what they're about is infernology. But I'm not sure how many of them know that what it actually means. That means Afro Eurasia versus America, or like one is, that they're each other's underworlds, like because that's what their whole like rituals are based on, the underworld, and like the underworld, the seven heavens, the seven worlds, the seven hells, the seven hell heavens. Like the it's all just like cosmology, ancient cosmology, and chronology, geography, geodesy, um, astronomy. It's like one thing that's really emblematic of how completely far they've brainwashed us is the fact of that we think that heaven, like I grew up, what I was told is heaven is this place, like this magical, realm, and it's where you go if you're like so good, because you couldn't even imagine, it's like this great amazing place that you can't, it's nobody can see it until they're dead, but you just have to have faith that heaven is just this amazing place, but it's somewhere up in the sky. Where in the sky? Outer space sky? On a cloud sky? Seems to depend. Like sometimes it's like treated as outer space because it's like up with the moon and the stars and the sun and stuff, or somehow associated with them. But then other times it's like depicted on a cloud. But in general, it's like the rule is, in our modern brainwashed, uh, degeneracy, like heaven is just like this like it's not even, you can't specify that. If you even like try to locate it, that's already like, if you try to say, is it in the clouds or is it in outer space, that's profane. That's like using these profane words for like these sacred this sacred thing. But it's just hilarious because like it's just none of this is possible without the you know destruction of the language, because heaven literally just means the sky. It's just like an English word to mean the sky, and it's literally like translated as sky in you know countless instances. Like in the Bible, there's a lot of things where some versions will say use the word heaven, some will use the word sky, means the sky. So this idea, like, nobody's ever seen the sky. I mean, that's how stupid it is, how we were raised, how we're trained, the shit we say, the shit we think, because the language is so destroyed that we think that makes sense. Like, if you told that to somebody even like 500 years ago, maybe they would say, like, heaven? Do you mean like the which heaven? Like, seventh heaven? Do you mean like the kingdom of heaven? That's, something that's supposed to be on earth, actually. It's not in heaven, it's the kingdom. It's the it's earth being under the, divine rulership of the heavens. Um I mean, I don't know. I would like to think at least like 500 years ago they still knew the language and knew that heaven means just the whole sky, like the whole sky is the heaven. It's There's heaven and earth, heaven and earth. That's what there is. There's even like movies. I seen a movie like when I was a kid, like a samurai movie. It was called Heaven and Earth. So still translated as that, just to mean the sky. So anyway, this is just funny. Like, and so the fact that hell is America, um, that there's, seven, I mean, like in Christian tradition, there's seven hells, seven worlds, seven heavens, seven hell heavens. So yeah, there's seven world heavens and seven hell heavens. Or maybe you could say there's just seven heavens that are like go all the way around. Um, but they're like different levels, like, or they're portrayed different levels, like a Sumerian version, like 5,000 years ago, or probably, I mean, probably old, much older, but like at least like, um, you know, 5,000 years ago was kind of when their heyday started, supposedly, or at least in the historical record. Um, that they would have this, they had the same system. So it was like the first heaven is like sin, the, the moon god. The second heaven is Shamash, the sun god. Uh, the third heaven is, I believe, Nergal, who is Mars, or yeah, I'm not really sure. I know it's seen Shamash, Nergal. Ninurta, I think, might be the seventh heaven, being Saturn. Yeah, I should find out. If so, that would be interesting because it would suggest that it's kind of the same religion as Judaism, which, worship seems to potentially worship Saturn, like Kronos, the father, on the seventh day, on his day. Um, so yeah, seventh heaven. And then associated with Brahma, Brahma's the seventh heaven of Brahma. So maybe that's also that, but it seems like maybe in different pantheons and different cultures, the order of the planets and stuff differed. Um, but also, like, so is the seventh heaven of Brahma in like Hinduism and Buddhism, and maybe a similar etymology in Zoroastrianism in Iran and Iran, or however you say that. And but uh, but also the seventh heaven is also of Abraham in or Ibrahim in Islam. So like um, you know, Abraham or Brahma and Ibrahim or Abraham, it's like almost like the same etymology. And I think once you get closer, like away from English into like the Hebrew, it's even closer etymology, or I mean, even closer like phonetics of the names, and probably the same etymology. Because honestly, like Judaism even traces itself to um no or I don't know, it seems like at least some interpretations are that it traces parts of itself to northern Mesopotamia. um I mean, it seems like it's a mix of things, probably a mix of Egyptian and Mesopotamian and stuff. But northern Mesopotamia was where the first kind of Hinduism and Sanskrit, and or maybe just the proto Zoroastrian too, like the proto kind of Iranic, Indo-Iranic like culture was found like in like the Mitanni or something of like you know um around like the Syria, what's now like the Syria Turkey border, um in eastern or not I'm not sure if it's considered Anatolia or not, but like might be, or adjacent to Anatolia, and now kind of claimed as Kurdistan and claimed as historical Armenia, and but politically Turkey and Syria largely, and probably parts of Iraq. Yeah, that might also be claimed by Kurdistan and by Iraq and etc. Um, so yeah, like wow, okay, the edibles. Like I think the edibles working. I got this something called ocean. I guess it's like backwards, but ocean berry. Ocean berry creme de la cana. Santa Cruz, established 2010. See, Santa Cruz is pretty old school as like for weed, because I like this is where like skunk weed came from. Um, and like a lot of strains. I like a lot of the early Sinsemilla was basically from around here. Um, yeah, this is one of the main places that seedless like cannabis was grown. And like I remember went to when I was going to high school here, um, in 94, 95, I guess, or yeah, I guess 95. Like one of my classmates dad was like had like I think the first, I think he ran like the first like dispensary basically in Santa Cruz, and one of the first in the US. um yeah, anyway, but I'm so baked I like basically forgot what I was saying, some shit about like, oh yeah, like they had the same that basically that at least some people interpret parts of like Genesis as referring to northern Mesopotamia, and that the fact that basically proto Hinduism, proto like the proto Vedic, proto Avestic religion was first seen before it was seen anywhere else. It was seen there among, I believe, the Mitanni, at least the ruling class or something, that they had the same deities and stuff. same pantheon. So like maybe that's why Abraham and Brahma um, are related somehow. You know, if they are like Saturn, Kronos, the father, Abraham, the father. That, you know, maybe that's what it is. I'm not really sure. Um, I honestly forget which planet, like the seventh heaven, is associated with in both, you know, Sumerian and, or I guess Babylonian and Vedic and Avestic. But anyway, my point is like, so much of like ancient like religion, everything like was about the underworld, whether it was um, Americans' culture, like traditions, rituals about Afro Eurasia, you know, or or I mean, like the whole like Mesoamerican ball game is like a ball game between America and Afro Eurasia. It's between like the hero twins or the, you know, I think like one Hunapu or something, or I think it's one Hunapu, or maybe it's One Hunapu or something, but who's probably America, or or it could be like some celestial body or something, but seems to be associated with America. And I think might be like a corn god, so like and specifically maize. So that would make sense that they would be kind of the counterpart to like what Osiris is for Afro Eurasia, which is basically is Afro Eurasia, I think. Um, but but you know, like if you watch like cartoons that are, you know, like I was